Let me just begin this video by saying I don't always wear gray t-shirts. I just happen to have a lot of gray t-shirts from various run walks that I've done. So on any given day, I'm wearing a gray t-shirt. But I wanted to share a few things in this reel. First of all, I'm going through a rebranding process. And Holy Grounding is going to eventually pivot to probably just a blog site and perhaps this YouTube channel, which I definitely need to increase my viewers. And please don't hit me up if you're somebody that does that for pay. But I'm getting a new website done by my son's amazing partner who runs a marketing company out in Hawaii. She's fabulous, Marketing Coco, look it up. And it's going to be geared toward yoga and breath work, serving all people, all people. So that's that. But for right now, I'm doing all these videos, reels on my Holy Grounding YouTube station. And I just wanted to share with you because there's a lot I could share. I always have things on my brain, but something that really is very much on my heart right now. And I'm not going to cry. I've already shed enough tears about this. I made a very, very difficult decision a few days ago. It was not made lightly. It was made with a lot of reflection, a lot of prayer, with no input from anyone. It was just between me and God. And I knew in my heart I needed to do it for several reasons. And so I made the decision. I know I put things in there I probably shouldn't in a very long thing that I wrote. My overthinking what I wrote, and I'm guilty sometimes of too much information. That's a big downfall of mine, I think, which has gotten me in trouble with more than a few people at times. And anyway, I can't do anything about it. I did what I did, and I released the situation to God. Like, this is yours. This is yours. And just guide me, guide this person. And it was the hardest decision, and I'm not joking about this. It was the hardest decision I think I've ever made in my life. And I sobbed buckets after I did it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But it is tied into relationships. And recently, I've had a lot of friends who have gone through separations, divorces. They've dated people briefly, and then it goes kaput. And I'm not in any headspace to date. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I'm working on me, and I am leaning into where I am being called. I am leaning into friends that nurture my spirit and my family that nurtures my spirit, or who nurtures my spirit. And I am not in a dating headspace. I probably won't be for a while. But my late husband, my dear Russ, one time said to me, and then he would say this repetitively, I do not want to wake up one day and look across the table from you and ask, who are you? And what he meant by that is once we had our second child, Rhett, and Jamie was older and starting to be involved in soccer and karate for little kids, and we were involved in the community and our church. He was working. I was volunteering at different places. Life gets busy. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. And you're paying a mortgage, and you're doing this, and you're doing that. It can be very, very easy to lose that true communication that relationships require. It can be really easy to just lose each other, and then even lose yourself in the relationship. And so we started this ritual of having dates every other week. We'd get a babysitter, we'd go out to dinner. We would not talk about the children. We just focused on us. And we did that a lot at night too, lying in bed, watching TV or whatever you do. But I think about, and I really believe this, in a relationship, whether it's a dating relationship, just a partnership, a marriage, unless there's substance abuse by one or both people, unless there is a tendency to be physically abusive, I think that the common underlying reason for most relationship breakdowns is a lack of communication and not taking the time to have those loving check ins that are so important. Gosh, I wish I'd known all this years ago. And to truly communicate and to have loving conversations in person about what's not working. I have a friend, I actually have a couple of friends who I know they've had challenges in their marriages, but they pulled it together because it was worth it for them. And they do check ins. Even my older son and his girlfriend, his partner, do these check ins. You know, what's been the highlight of our week as a couple? What's been our big win? Where have we been challenged? How can we work through this? And yes, things like that take time. But if the relationship is worth it to you, you make the time to do it. And I just think about this a lot because, I used to wonder about people. I remember years ago being subpoenaed in a divorce case, and it was a couple whose wedding I had attended, and they seemed so in love, so in love. And I remember sitting in that courtroom, sitting behind the female part of this couple, and they didn't look at each other. She was at a desk in front of me and some others. He was over on the other side, both looking straight ahead, nobody smiling. And I remember asking myself, how did it get to this? And I've asked myself that about a lot of people, and I've asked myself that about my own very, very long-term relationship. And again, you can blame it on a number of things, but I think at the end of the day, the true issue is communication. And communication requires time. It requires not thinking you're right. It requires actively, lovingly, patiently listening to the other person. And ideally, all this in person. The last 13 years of this most important relationship in my life were long distance. Now, we weren't always in a long distance relationship. And so our communication was largely on the phone and on FaceTime, except when we could get together with 3.5 hours between us. That's not good communication. That is a recipe for a major breakdown in communication. So I'm not shocked that we ended up like we did. And have you noticed I'm not looking directly at the camera sometimes, which I typically always do, because this is a very difficult video for me to make. But I am so passionate about what I'm speaking about right now, about communication, that I hope my message touches somebody out there who's struggling in their relationship or in their marriage and helps you and your person, your partner, your spouse to settle down. Remember why you love each other. Don't think about why you get frustrated with each other, but think about why you love each other. I mean, my goodness, last night I was going through to find something about holy yoga in my vast library on my mobile phone, my cell phone. And I came across this reel of a wedding that took place 2 years ago in the Shenandoah Valley. And I was looking at somebody I loved escorting his daughter down the aisle at this very beautiful, sweet wedding. And I just lost it. I just lost it because you remember the love. You remember what you loved about the person. But then you have to remember all the things that didn't work. And I think, again, that at the end of the day, the real situation is you have to make that time for each other, and you have to do those conversations, the ones about your love and what's working and what's this goal we're working on, and the hard ones. And if people can't do that, they don't need to be in a relationship. And I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm just making a general statement. So I hope that's some food for thought for you today. You don't want to look at your person years from now and ask, who are you? And it just breaks my heart when I hear about people going through divorces or separating or breaking up. And I know because I've lived that this year. And sometimes we do have to make those hard decisions. Communication's everything, but when the whole thing gets broken down and you're just kind of dangling in the remnant of the breakup, you have to make some difficult choices. May not be forever, but it has to be for the time being. So I hope that you think about, if you are in a relationship, what you need to do if it's not working. And if you've already been down that road, you're broken up, you're divorced, you're separated. If you're separated, there's always still that chance. But don't beat yourself up for any mistakes you've made. There is no glory in that. You just have to give yourself some grace, take a deep breath, give it to God, and move on. I hope all of this makes sense. Every video I do, I get my thoughts in my head. I don't read, as you can tell, and I just talk. So I hope that helps you, and I hope you have a great day.